Assalamu alaikum, welcome back to Small Talk. My topic for today's video is why the West is so backward. I know it's going to make some people very mad. Even in the East, people are going to think, what the heck is she talking about? How are Western people backward? And I'll explain to you how. When I used to work, I've had job for like 15 years of my life out of the 22 years that I lived here, actually 18 years of my life. And I have worked at different corporations, different companies, and I've had multiple colleagues, and I've had very good relationship and friendships with those colleagues. And me being the only Muslim woman in most of those places of work, they always came to me and asked me all these questions. And one of the questions they always said, why do why do Muslim men are allowed to have multiple wives? And of course, at the time, I did not have the answer to that question because I was young and I, didn't have much in-depth knowledge of my deen or my religion. But now, thank God, Alhamdulillah, I do. And I will explain why men are allowed to have four wives and why Western societies are so backward that they're still not allowing that in their countries. They should. Maybe they should consider that. They don't need to be so backward. They can be a little bit more progressive and allow and make it legal for men to have multiple wives. The reason why men have four wives in Islam is because, number one, there are more women in the world than there are men. And the reason for that is, if you look at the the research that has been done, that fertility rate for the baby boy is much higher than the baby girl. More baby boys die when they're born for different diseases than baby girls. Baby girls have much more stronger immunity than the boys do. Number two, at the time of war, like what happened in Syria and Gaza, even during World War II, a lot more men die because they have to go out and fight in the battlefield, or they have to go out and take care of the family, so they end up getting killed. So there's always more men who die than the women. So ultimately, the world is left with more women than the men. Now let's say there were 30% more women than the men. I don't know what the numbers are, but it's just a hypothetically speaking number. And let's say the 100% women have, or 70% women got, sorry, uh, I think I'm doing the math wrong. So let's say 70% women got husbands. But what about the extra 30% who don't have any men left in the society to get married to? Where do they go? Have you ever thought about it? Of course, they are going to be the cause of spreading evil in the society. And I don't mean to say women are evil. What I meant to say is that those women have to do something. They have to go somewhere. So what do they do with? They end up becoming mistresses to your husband. They start prostitution. They may have a job. I'm not saying all of them do that, but they all have desires attached to them. They want to be comfortable. They get love and attention, and they like to be nurtured. So of course they are going to look for the men in the society, and where are those men going to come from? Of course, those men are going to be your husbands. So living in this country, in the US, I've been living here for more than 20 years. I have seen and I have heard so many rumors that men have so many mistresses on the side. So American women or Western women are okay for their husbands to have a mistress or mistresses, but they're not okay with that man to take in a second wife. And those men, they are really taking care of those mistresses. They provide them the apartments or houses. Of course, I'm talking about the very rich men, but there are not very rich men as well who also take care of certain basic needs of their girlfriends on the side out of wedlock. And that money is being spent, the love is being shared, the emotions are being shared. Of course, they are sleeping with them, and they're being shared. So why does it matter if they just sign a marriage certificate and now they take them in as a wife? Just make it legal. They're doing everything illegally anyway. Why not make it legal? Why not make it right? I just don't understand this concept, like why the Western societies don't get it. I remember there was a governor of New York, his name was Elliot Spitzer, a very smart man. I loved him. He was wonderful. I had no interest in politics, but something about, he has very charismatic personality. And every time he showed up on TV and he was speaking, I would just listen to him very carefully. And then, not too much longer into the office, that he had a scandal of going to see hookers, and he got caught because he was going to a bank withdrawing, I think, $4,000 every Friday, and he would go, and then the bank teller who was cashing his check, and if I don't know, if you work in the bank you have to fill out a currency transaction report. If someone takes out cash every so often, you have to fill out the report, because mostly things are done via check or credit cards. And if somebody is taking out too much cash, the bank tellers have to fill out a report to notify the back office, and they do research to make sure the money is not being spent on prostitution or gambling or things of that nature, which are sins. Even in the West, there's sins, trust me. And he got caught, and when the investigation was done, they found out that Elliot Spitzer was, every Friday he was going out and seeing this group of prostitutes who were, they were call girls. He was paying them the money, and he was known as the client 13 among them. And then there was a big chaos in the New York State. He had to come up and apologize in public, and his poor wife was just standing by his side. Kind of, that was a political appearance. Obviously, they have to make it look like, oh, his wife has forgiven him. I don't know what happened to them after the fact. But the point is, all those things are happening in the society. Imagine $4,000 every Friday is being spent on those mistresses. you know so what else is there left? He's financially supporting them, emotionally he's there, physically he's there, and he just can't sign a document and take her in as a wife. That's called West being so far behind. This is why the society has become so corrupt. This is why there is a lot more evil in these societies than it is in the East. And my question to my Western fellows and friends is, why are you so behind? Why aren't you progressive? I know you guys think we are behind and we are ignorant and we are backward, but everybody has their own standard of advancement and marginism. We think that we are very margin as Muslims, and the Western are so far behind in being advanced and progressive in certain things. Of course, in science and technology, you guys are way ahead from East. But some of these ethical things that we practice as Muslims, you guys are still so far behind. Maybe it's time for you to implement the laws that men are allowed to have multiple wives, because when they don't, it causes destruction in the family. It causes marriages to break when the wives find out. Of course, they don't want to live with a husband who's a cheater. Not to mention, it causes lots of those diseases like HIV and AIDS, which are sexually transmitted disease when men are going around and being sexually engaged in those women. Those women have been around so many other men. Who knows what kind of disease they carry, and then it causes this vicious cycle of problems that never end in the society. And Islam is all about protecting the societies and human lives and all those things, and that's why there are so many rules that are given in Islam, which West think are backward, but they're not. They're very progressive. They're very advanced. Those rules are to protect the humanity and the dignity of humanity and the societies in general, and that's why those rules exist. Now, the next question is the emotional distress that is caused by these kind of second, third wives into the women. Yes, I understand that. We as women don't like to share our spouses with anyone. We obviously don't like, because we think our husbands are our property. We own them. They need to love us and us only, and they should not be going around sleeping with other women, even if it's their wife. But that's a different debate. We can talk about this in some other video. But the logic behind having multiple wives for men is that there is more women in the society than there are men. I was reading a book about some German woman wrote a book a long time ago. I don't remember the name of the book, and I honestly don't remember the exact sentence that I read or paragraph that I read. But the gist of the paragraph was she said the Prophet of Islam was a very wise man. He allowed Muslim men to take in multiple wives. After the World War II, all the men had died, and we had no other choice but to go out and sell ourselves for food. If we had the choice to become somebody's second, third, or fourth wife, we would have been happy to do that instead of doing what we had to do to survive. Think about it, how helpless they must have felt. They're left with no other choice. Their husbands are dead, or their fathers and sons are dead, and now there's only women. And the few men that are left, they're obviously, they're crazy. Now they have all these extra women that they can use for a little bit of money, maybe just for a burger, just for, bringing some groceries home. And the poor women were forced to do that. They had no dignity, no protection, no respect. They didn't have anyone to take care of, so they had to take care of themselves. These are the situations that do take place, which is why Islam encourages four wives. The second thing is why Islam encourages four wives. We all know the women up after a certain age, they hit the menopause, they cannot reproduce anymore. Men, on the other hand, can keep going until 60, 65, even in some cases 70 years of age, and they can have babies no problem. Women lose their sexual desire after a certain age. Men, on the other hand, they don't. So what do? Either they go ahead and sleep around with random women, or they can go ahead and take a second wife, provide her with everything, comfort her, make a commitment with her, sign a social contract that we call marriage, take her in as a wife, and now she is his legal wife, instead of him going around to different women every 2 days, 3 days, or every night in some cases, and bringing home all these diseases and become a male hooker. It's better for him to take in a second wife and enjoy his life, a younger wife. There's nothing wrong with that. So, in my opinion, Islam is much more progressive. I know lots of Muslims will agree with me. I'm not sure about Muslim women, they may not like my video. But we can make a separate video on emotional distress that is caused by these marriages among women. We can definitely talk about it. But this video, to clarify the purpose why polygamy is allowed, I think Western society should try to implement this law and think about it. Maybe it'll be better for them as a society. Please give me your comments in the comment section below. Give my video a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Until the next video, Allah Hafiz.